Return to politics, this time local. On November 8th, you won't just decide our next president. You also have to make a decision on 4 ballot questions that could mean big changes for our state. Among them, question 3. The proposed law would ban farmers from confining pigs, calves, or egg-laying hens to the point they can't lie down, stand up, extend their limbs, or turn around freely. The law would also ban the sale of any meat or eggs which comes from an animal that has been confined in that manner. It would go into effect in 2022. Joining me are Kara Holmquist. She's the Director of Advocacy for the MSPCA, who is pro question 3. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Jim.
Diane Sullivan is from Citizens Against Food Tax Injustice. She's against it. Diane's good to see you, too. Kara, starting with you, your argument, from what I read, begins and ends with the issue of humane treatment. That's what it is, yes?
Sure.
So give it to me.
Sure. Well, the MSPCA is very excited to be an endorser of this measure. We're proud to be a part of the Citizens for Animal Protection, the coalition that comes together to advocate for a yes vote. I mean, this is an extremely modest and common sense measure. It would simply require egg-laying hens, breeding pigs, and calves raised for veal to be able to stand up, lie down, turn around, and extend their limbs. And as you said, there's a modest retail standard so that eggs and products sold in Massachusetts must meet this modest
even if they're
retail
manufactured,
standard.
even if they're produced elsewhere.
Right.
You know, by the way, one of your supporters, wrote a piece saying that the sensibilities vis-a-vis humans for chickens and pigs are the same as dogs and cats.
You know, MSPCA has been advocating for farm animals for a long time. We've been around for about 150 years. We have a farm in Methuen, Nevins Farm, where we have pigs, cows, goats, you name it. And we see their personalities firsthand, and we treat them as individuals. And
So you think they do relate, like a chicken relates to a human being?
Sure. There's no way we would ever confine our animals in our farm in the type of extreme confinement that exists today.
You don't deny that this is inhumane treatment. I know you've got another issue which we'll get to in a minute. But when they can't even, their feet don't even touch the ground because they're so stuck. I mean, that's inhumane, yes?
Well, this is actually not the case here in Massachusetts. There is one farm in Massachusetts that would be impacted by question 3. I've been out to that farm. I visited. I don't know if Kara and the folks at HSUS or MSPCA.
But doesn't it affect every farm in the country that tries to sell products in this state that are confined in this fashion?
And that begs the question why they're here in Massachusetts trying to get us to dictate how farmers in other states.
What's the answer to that question?
Well, this is very much a Massachusetts measure. The MSPCA, as I said, has been around for 150 years. The Animal Rescue League of Boston is on board. Zoo New England.
Well, what about the out-of-state issue that Diane raised?
Well, we have thousands of hens in Massachusetts that are currently in cages that are not big enough for them to spread their wings, and that's 3,000 hens today. In another 18 months or so, when they're done laying, that'll be another 3,000 and another 3,000. We also know, I was at a legislative hearing where a pork producer said she might build a new barn and put gestation stalls in it. So this is very much about Massachusetts.
Okay. I want to get to your primary argument. It seems to me your argument begins and ends on the pocketbook issues for farmers, but primarily for consumers. So what is the issue? What, a dozen eggs is going to go up? I mean, what's the issue?
The issue is that question 3 is in fact a social injustice, and what it's going to do is cause harm to low and middle income residents here in Massachusetts. And we already know Massachusetts is one of the most expensive states in the country in which to live. We have people who right now tonight are going to make the decision between do I pay my rent and do I feed my children. Now my opponents will say that this will only cost a penny an egg. What they do is ignore what happened in California when a similar measure was passed. They in fact, I don't know that they go to the grocery store and are looking at the price difference between a cage-free egg and conventional egg.
Professor Cornell, the thing that I think Diane is referring to, did a study. It says because of the California law itself, the price of a dozen eggs has gone up 18%. You don't deny that, right?
Well, that study has been done in the context of this political campaign. Our numbers come from a study that was done by the egg industry itself that says 1 penny per egg to raise under cage-free conditions.
I believe that was in 2007.
But I get back to you, though. You know, many products, you want eggs to be cheaper. I understand that. Many products would be cheaper if we didn't care how they were made. So, for example, if we keep having child labor make shoes in Bangladesh, they'll be cheaper too. So I assume you think that matters. Why doesn't it matter how an animal is treated?
Because here's what we have. First, the Massachusetts Farm Bureau Federation opposes question 3 because they are, in fact, the farmers who are caring for these animals. We can trust Massachusetts farmers are taking care of these animals. These farms are inspected.
But it doesn't just apply to Massachusetts farmers.
Right.
It applies to any farmer who tries to sell things into our state.
Right, and it begs the question why my opponents are not in these other states trying to control what these farmers are doing.
How do you monitor, by the way, that's an interesting question. How do you monitor if 99% of the impact on this is going to going to be on producers in other states, which it is. I think it's a fact we agree upon. How do you know that a producer in Minnesota that's sending veal out here is not violating this notion? How do you know they are violating this notion?
Sure, I can answer that. And I just want to quickly say that in California, eggs are at the national average now. So they're not more expensive, and they even drop below the national average.
Okay, how about the out-of-state monitoring thing, if we can?
Sure. So this law will take place in 2022. The AG will make regulations by 2020. And for a supplier to sell eggs in Massachusetts, they would simply need a purchase order that documents that they are complying with this law.
Let me ask you two sides of the same coin for both of you. I think it's as goes McDonald's and Walmart, so goes grocers everywhere. Even in your statement in the Secretary of State's book, you say that McDonald's and Walmart are switching. So if that's what's happening, why not let the market do this instead of doing this ballot question thing? It's going to happen anyway.
Well, the market is moving in this direction. Since we began the campaign, there's 200 plus companies that have
so
said
why
they'll
not
go
just let
cage-free.
it run its course?
Well, that's not everyone. That's not everyone, and this is too important to let that rely on chance for them to do the right thing. We need to at least have laws that are at least set the same standards as what McDonald's and Walmart are doing. And we need to rein in the outliers.
Let's the other flip side of the coin before we leave here, Diane. You admit it's switching too. So why try to stop the inevitable? It's going to happen. They're going to be cage-free. They're going to be treated more humanely.
I actually haven't admitted to that. I haven't been, as a low-income consumer here in Massachusetts, nobody's invited me to the table in some corporate boardroom to decide what they are doing.
The statement in opposition...
I didn't write that.
Well, that's what's going to the public.
Right.
The statement in opposition says that the 175 producers or some such thing are switching.
Right, and I would ask that question. Why not let the market do what it's going to do then? They're making a lot of money. This is a D.C. lobbyist group that's here in Massachusetts making a whole lot of money off of this question.
I'm not from a D.C. lobbyist group, and you know that you are being paid by agribusiness and large oil to debate this.
The vast majority of the funding that is the proponents of Question 3 is coming from the Humane Society of the United States, which is not your local Humane Society that's actually doing the good work of rescuing dogs.
Kara, thank you for your time.
Thanks,
Really
Jim.
appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much, Diane.
Thank you,
Thank you, too. We appreciate it.